My name is Sarah, and I married a doctor, but we had trouble conceiving for a long time. However, in the 12th year of our marriage, at the age of 40, I finally got pregnant. I was overjoyed and couldn't wait to tell my husband, but he said, "I'd rather have a child with your younger, prettier sister than an ugly child with an old woman like you," and handed me divorce papers. At the time, my sister was 35 and incredibly beautiful. Emily's ideal was to marry a high earner like a doctor or lawyer, and it turned out that the one who got her pregnant was my husband, Kevin. When I first got married, Emily was jealous that I was able to marry a high earner like Kevin. Her feelings were a parade of envy, jealousy, and resentment, and she often said things like, "Why was my sister able to marry someone like that when I can't even meet a high earner? But I'm not that ugly either. I may not be as pretty as my sister, but I consider myself average looking." However, Kevin decided to marry me, and when he first met Emily at our wedding reception, he fell for her at first sight. "Why didn't you let me meet your sister before we decided to get married?" When Kevin came to my family's home to propose, Emily wasn't home because she was out on a date. She also didn't come to the meeting between our families because she was at a group date. So why did he feel the need to specifically meet my sister? Still, she's your only sister, so wasn't it proper to introduce us before the wedding? I don't know what he considers proper, but while meeting the parents is a must, I don't think meeting the sister is absolutely necessary. However, since Kevin didn't say anything more about it, I thought he was just joking and laughed it off. Kevin was a dedicated doctor who worked at a hospital. If an emergency patient came in, he would prioritize the patient even if he had plans with me. I had a deep respect for him because of that. But after we got married, his dedication only increased, and even when he was at home, he would rush off to the hospital if a patient's condition changed, sometimes not even coming back home. It's great that he's so dedicated to his work, but I started to worry that he might harm his health. I fell for him as a doctor, but wasn't this going too far? What did he think about it himself? Although I had my doubts, I chose him myself, and I told myself that he might change once we had a child. However, after being married for 10 years, I started to question Kevin's behavior. He was certainly dedicated to his work, but he started coming home less and less frequently. If he was going to be away from home so often, I was worried about his health, so I made him a lunchbox and brought a change of clothes to the hospital. But I was told that Kevin had already gone home. The nurse who told me seemed to sense something and looked at me with pity. After that incident, I started to think that something was off, so I waited at the hospital around the time Kevin's shift was supposed to end. I saw Kevin meeting up with a woman outside the hospital. From the woman's back, I thought she looked familiar, but I couldn't be sure. More than that, I was too afraid to pursue it in case what I thought turned out to be true. If it was just an affair, I thought it would end eventually. I thought it would be better to turn a blind eye than to say something unnecessary and have him get serious about it. Maybe that's why I felt that way, but I was wrong. One day, I tried asking Kevin, "Hey, what do you think of women like Emily?" "Emily? She's pretty, isn't she? Is that the type of woman you prefer?" "Well, compared to you, she's definitely a beauty, and if I were to get married, I'd want to marry a pretty woman, wouldn't I?" "What would you do if Emily said she wanted to date you?" Kevin stared at me. Maybe he was trying to decide whether to tell the truth or brush it off. But of course, I wanted him to say he'd choose me. I wanted him to say that Emily was just the sister-in-law, after all. But Kevin didn't say anything. After that, Kevin came home even less often. I thought I shouldn't have asked him something so stupid, that he must have thought it was silly, that he must have thought it was too much trouble. If I had just kept quiet, maybe we could have stayed together as husband and wife. Amidst all that, I received the news of my pregnancy, which I had almost forgotten about. We're finally going to have a baby. I had wanted a child so badly, but I couldn't conceive no matter how much I wished for it. I was always so envious when I saw parents with their children. I can finally become a parent. I was so happy that I called my husband at work. However, Kevin's response was cold. "You know I'm at work, don't you?" Don't call me over something like that. I'm busy. I'm sorry. Hey, can you come home early today? I'll make something delicious. Let's celebrate. How am I supposed to know if I can go home or not? I'm a doctor. I never know when an emergency patient might come in. With that, he didn't come home that day. I thought he would be kinder once he found out I was pregnant. I thought he would be happy with me. To think he wouldn't even do that. Where did your heart go? I spent the night in tears, in pain, and unable to do anything about it. A week later, when Kevin finally came home, he said, "I'd rather have a child with your younger, prettier sister than an ugly child with you. Emily is pregnant too. That's why my relationship with you is over," he said with a laugh, placing the divorce papers on the table and urging me to sign them quickly. The other person was indeed my sister, Emily. I wasn't mistaken about that back. I raised them well for the past 15 years, didn't I? And to think they were triplets. Whenever I think back on that day, I still feel frustrated and painful. But from that day on, I began to eagerly await the birth of my daughters. Thanks to my daughters, who were born safely afterward, I was able to recover from Kevin's treatment. Those children are already in junior high school now. We've been through a lot. When one of them suddenly got a fever, all three of them got it at the same time, and I had to take all three of them to the hospital by myself. They always wore the same clothes, and if I dressed them differently, they would complain. Life was hard, and I had to hand-make 3 of the same outfits, but my children's smiles always saved me. Those daughters of mine now possess an undeniable beauty. I wonder who they take after, to become such beauties. How were you able to give birth to such beautiful children? My mother, who often took care of them, would say that whenever she looked at the children. I suppose it means they were born with all of Kevin's good qualities and all of my good qualities. If that's true, I think they're lucky daughters. I was once called ugly by Kevin and felt frustrated, but when I look at my children, I can't help but wonder what he would think if he saw them. However, I didn't think I would ever see Kevin again, and I didn't think my children would ever meet him either. But then, one day, my mother, who doted on my children, was hospitalized. When I went to visit her, it was at the hospital where Kevin worked. But it's a big hospital, so there's no way we would run into each other by chance. That's what I thought, but they say you're more likely to run into people you don't want to see. Huh? Is that you, Sarah? When I turned around at the sound of that voice, there he was, wearing a white coat. Due to the passage of 15 years, his gray hair was noticeable. And since it was a salt and pepper pattern, his former good looks had completely vanished. Wow, the geriatric department, huh? The geriatric department is a department that deals with diseases of the brain and mind in the elderly, treating symptoms such as forgetfulness, decreased understanding, low mood, and decreased motivation. In other words, he, who is older than me, was calling me elderly. But thanks to him, I no longer have a heart that can be hurt by such things. Thanks to him, I was reborn with a stronger mind than anyone else. I laughed off his words through my nose and tried to leave the spot. What the hell, man? I tried to strike up a conversation with you and you just ignored me, he said as he followed me. What? Now that you're 60, you have time to spare even though you used to be so busy? Well, I'm not as busy as I was back then. Good for you. I'm busy. Don't be like that. It's been 15 years since we last met. Let's chat for a bit. I don't want to talk to you. Well, I get it. It must have been tough for you after I left you. Life must have been hard. But what can you do? Who would want to spend their whole life with someone like you? All right. Still, you've really aged. You were already ugly, but now it's even worse. Look who's talking. You're 60 now, right? Your hair's all salt and pepper. Where are you from back then? It'd be weird if I stayed the same forever. He just won't shut up. Yeah, but with that salt and pepper hair, I wonder if your beloved wife will start to hate you. Don't worry, that won't happen. Oh, really? But you can't beat age, right? You're probably close to retirement too. I've still got plenty of life in me. You're 55 already, right? I don't know where you work, but shouldn't you be preparing for life after retirement? Your kid's only 15, so you've got to keep at it for another 7 years. That's right. I don't need a geriatric doctor yet. You think you can get your kid into college? With no skills, the best job you can get is probably a cashier at a supermarket. Don't diss supermarket cashiers. My kid will definitely go to college. He'll go to college and become a doctor in the future. Huh, good for you. Your kid's probably an ugly idiot, so there's no point in sending them to college. We'll see about that. By the way, was it a boy? And stupid boy would be the worst. It's a girl. Oh, that's good then. If it's a girl, she can find ways to make money even if she's dumb. You should get her work after high school. I can't believe you'd say that about your own child, even if we're divorced. My only children are the ones I have with Emily. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Emily in 15 years. Is she doing well? Yeah, she's supposed to come to the hospital today. I wonder if she's still as beautiful as she was. Of course she is. What are you saying? Despite his words, Kevin didn't seem very confident. My woman's intuition told me something was up. I bet your kids are excellent. After all, you chose the better children in the divorce. Of course. They're my kids, after all. Right. I'd love to meet Emily and the kids. You don't need to meet them. They're my nephews and nieces, even if they're your children. There's no need. What? It's only natural for me to want to see my own nephews and nieces. I have no problem letting my kids meet you. So why are you so against it? Plus, she's my actual sister. Of course I have some thoughts, but it's natural to want to see my sister after so long. Emily said she doesn't want to see you. We're the only two sisters. I don't want to end my life without seeing her. Well, wouldn't it be better for you to stay away from Emily so you don't get fed up with the difference in your living standards? That's not true at all. We're sisters. I'd feel relieved to know she's living a wealthy life. Wouldn't you be envious if you're poor but your sister is wealthy? That's not true. There's no point in envying others. You're worrying about strange things. No! Humans aren't that pure, right? If Emily is living a good life, you might get envious and ask her for money. That's stupid. As if I'd do that at this age. Plus, it doesn't matter to me what kind of life Emily is living. I don't feel any envy. Is that so? Still, it's better not to meet. You're so stubborn. I wonder why you're being so adamant about this. Could it be that something's going on? There's nothing. There can't be anything. Then it should be fine to meet. I really want to see my sister. As we were having this conversation, my sister actually appeared. I guess the saying "speak of the devil" really holds true. But her appearance was unimaginably fat. Her face had changed so much from 15 years ago, becoming ugly. Sarah? Who? Oh, come on. Did you forget about your little sister? Emily? Is that you? Why? It was only natural for me to ask why. When we were going through the divorce, Emily was as skinny as a model and the epitome of beauty. But now she had reverted back to her childhood self, combining the ugliness and fatness that Kevin hated. Why did you end up like this? You got together with Kevin, so you should have been able to maintain your looks, right? Well, you see. I thought if he was a doctor, he'd definitely have a high income and cosmetic surgery costs would be nothing. But it turns out Kevin's income is surprisingly low. And then I had kids, so I couldn't focus on beauty anymore. Emily laughed while shaking her large body. Now it seemed like she couldn't care less about beauty. She used to get repeated cosmetic surgeries to be beautiful, getting her eyes and nose done and even liposuction. Full-body hair removal was a given, and she always had smooth skin. To maintain that, money was absolutely necessary, and the ones who were supposed to earn that money were doctor or lawyer husbands. Knowing you, I thought you'd keep getting plastic surgeries even after getting married. I wanted to do that too. But I kept having kids one after another. With 5 kids, I ran out of money to spend on myself. The ones surrounding Emily were boys with amazing physiques, holding snacks in their hands. They really take after you, Emily. Right? They're boys, so they eat a lot. Yeah. Just like you as a kid. They really all looked exactly like Emily. This wasn't something that could be explained away with boys eat a lot. None of them took after Kevin, huh? Though I guess they do resemble him in some ways. What? They look like my hubby? That's great. You've never been told you look like anyone, have you? Emily was laughing loudly, but Kevin only had a strained smile. But plastic surgery techniques have advanced these days. We're lucky to be born in this day and age. That's right. If I had the money, I'd get more plastic surgery. But first, I want my kids to get surgery. Then they'll all become handsome for sure. They've got to catch a rich woman this time. Yeah. I get that you don't have time for self-improvement because you have kids, but still, with Kevin's income, it shouldn't be impossible to set aside some money for that. Well, you see, this guy has debt. I don't have money to spend on myself. Debt? Yeah. Didn't he have debt when you were married to him? He definitely did, when you stole him from me. It was about $60,000. $60,000 is nothing. Now it's $360,000. Why did it increase so much? Because he keeps buying cars. We don't even have enough parking space, and he only has one body. I keep telling him it's pointless, but he says to let him freely buy cars. He says freely, but all the cars are expensive. I think it's amazing that you can still laugh, Emily. So I guess you're even then. What do you mean? This guy didn't know that you had plastic surgery, right? But he still praised you as a supreme beauty. You thought he was a money tree, but he spends money as soon as he gets it, so it was unexpected. I never thought you two would be so compatible. I feel the same way. I never thought that face was created by plastic surgery. She was beautiful even without makeup, so I was totally fooled into thinking she was a natural beauty. And now it's gradually falling apart. If you're gonna say that, then you should have let me spend that money instead of buying cars. Then I'd still be a beauty now. That's true. Emily, you always said you'd become a beauty when you were a kid. That's why you worked hard to save money. Exactly. But then I married a good-for-nothing like Kevin, so I ended up back where I started. You said you absolutely needed a rich man to maintain your beauty. It can't be helped. There's no point in showing it off to anyone now, so whatever. I see. Sarah, have you had plastic surgery too? I mean, if Emily had it, it wouldn't be strange for her sister to have it too, right? Emily turned to plastic surgery because she couldn't be confident in herself. But I'm confident in myself. So I don't need it. Oh, is that how it was? That face and body without plastic surgery. Emily was a beauty because of surgery, so she's falling apart more and more. She's the one you chose, even abandoning your wife and kids to remarry, so don't say that about her. Plus, she's my little sister. You're right. But if you trace it back, you have the same parents. Our kids look like them, right? I bet they're ugly. You're hoping they're ugly, huh? It's frustrating to keep losing. But I'm the winner. No way. When I turned around at being called, there were 3 daughters. Their looks were dazzling. Huh? Who? They're my daughters. No way. But why are there 3? They were triplets. Are they really your kids? You don't believe me? Why are they so different? You have the same roots. Roots. That's gotta be it. The mothers are sisters, the father is the same for both. So why are they so different? Even if you say that. I get it, they're not really your kids, right? Don't say such rude things. These girls are my children that I gave birth to and raised. If they're your kids, why are they so beautiful? Well, it's a mix of my good points and your good points, isn't it? If you keep saying such stupid things, I'll sue you for defamation. But if they're this beautiful, they don't need plastic surgery at all. Don't tell me they've already had surgery? Of course not. How rude can you be? Oh, right, of course. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Why are you jumping to conclusions? I'll admit their faces are good, but that doesn't mean they're smart too. That's right. They take after you in being dumb, right? Right? Gross. What a terrible way of thinking. You may feel like you've hit the last stronghold, but these girls are extremely talented. No way! They're your kids! They're your kids too, you know? All three of them have an IQ of 130 and are aiming for medical school. Medical school! Amazing! As expected of my sister's daughters. What do you mean by that? I mean, my sister was always at the top of her grade, right? It was faster to count my class ranking from the bottom. That's why there was no way I could compete with brains, so I bet everything on my looks. But you said you were high-ranking too! You took that seriously? I exaggerated a bit to marry Kevin. I thought you'd see through it right away. No way! So these girls... Kevin looked at his own children with scornful eyes. You see, my kids are so forgetful no matter how many times I tell them. When I scold them for forgetting, they forget something else the next day. I've given up. It's faster to count their test scores from the bottom. I wondered who they took after, but it's me. I see. I thought maybe they took after Kevin, but they took after Emily there too. But I'm sure they'll grow up to be easygoing kids. Totally. Personality is more important than brains. That said, it's not like my sister has a particularly good personality either. If she truly had a good personality, she wouldn't steal someone's husband. Next to Emily, who was laughing cheerfully, Kevin had a face full of dissatisfaction. Why? Why are our kids all dumb while your kids are so smart? This is unacceptable. You shouldn't say that in front of the kids. Besides, when we got divorced, you said Emily's kids would be talented. Who would have thought it was faster to count from the bottom? I was tricked. It means you hadn't developed an eye for the truth. I believed what Emily said. Wow, how pathetic. It doesn't matter, but you should just be grateful that you got to marry the beauty you loved. No matter how frustrated you are, you can't change reality. It's out of your control. Yet Kevin couldn't accept it and was pursing his lips. Seeing Kevin like that, the daughters were whispering to each other, wondering who this person was. Are these girls really aiming to be doctors? Seems so. Blood will tell. I see. Hey, is this person Mom's acquaintance? I guess so. I don't want to count him as an acquaintance, but he is one. What are you saying? I'm your dad. I'm the one who made you girls. Looks of scorn appeared on the daughters' faces. Of course they would. Whenever the girls asked me about their dad, I told them the truth. What kind of man their father was, and how he didn't care about hurting people. You can't teach kids something like that. I know that, but if by chance Kevin found out about the girls and appeared in front of them, then he might use money to take them away. I thought Kevin would try to claim the girls' beauty and intelligence as his own. And right now, that kind of development was about to unfold right before my eyes. But then one of the daughters said, "You're the person who abandoned us." Another daughter said, "He's someone who only cares about appearances and can't see the essence of people." And the last one laughed, "So that's why you couldn't tell she had plastic surgery?" In the end, they all called him a pitiful uncle in unison. Kevin seemed at a loss for how to react to what they said. There was no point in waiting for Kevin's reaction, so I looked at what the girls had in their hands. What did you buy? You said you were going to the bookstore, right? Yeah. I thought this bookstore would have them. And they did. What they showed me was a variety of reference books. Studying at school is boring. So we got college reference books, German books, and medical books. Sharing books they bought has been a thing since they were little. And now that they have the same goals, it seems they read the books together when they buy them. We thought it'd be good to study German if we're gonna be doctors.
They're this talented even though they're still in junior high school?
I told you, they have an IQ of 130. Mom. We gotta go to Grandma's soon. She's probably waiting. You're right. I left that place as if pulled by my daughters, but while Emily was waving goodbye, Kevin couldn't say anything, perhaps because he was frustrated at losing. Then, a month later, I got a call from Kevin. He started saying something unbelievable.
Give those girls to me. Those 3 daughters you raised.
Why? Don't you have your own kids?
They're hopeless idiots. I don't want them. The kids you raised were made with my genes, they're definitely my kids. So give them to me.
Huh? You think I'd give my precious daughters to someone who says they don't want their own kids? Think before you speak.
I'm gonna retire soon, so after that I'm planning to work as a contracted doctor. So I'll definitely make the kids become doctors. But you probably can't do that. It takes money for them to become doctors. There's no way a woman can pay for tuition by herself. Wouldn't it be such a waste for 3 talented girls to not become doctors because of lack of money and end up at the bottom?
You don't need to worry about that.
How can you say that? You don't know how much it costs to become a doctor.
I remarried.
Remarried? Who? Who's the guy?
The director of the hospital you work at.
The hospital director's wife.
That's right. So when they become doctors, they'll work at that hospital and eventually inherit it.
They're cash cows, aren't they?
Thinking that way is why you're no good. Becoming doctors is their dream and goal. It's not to become cash cows.
But in reality, they are cash cows, aren't they?
That's why those girls don't accept you.
Hey! There are 3 of them. 1 would be fine, right? Just give me 1. That idiot son is useless. But if I have even 1 of your daughters, my old age will be secure.
Kids aren't money trees.
That's just idealism. I'm really in trouble here.
I can't believe someone like you is a doctor. Go reflect on yourself.
No, you don't have to remarry. Just give me the kids, that's all I need.
Kevin kept repeating his anguished cries, but I hung up the phone without hesitation. Afterwards, I was so mad that I immediately consulted my husband. He promptly had Kevin transferred. He was transferred to a small clinic deep in the mountains, in a village with mostly elderly people. It would have been good if he had a change of heart and worked diligently there, but Kevin's reputation was extremely bad. He would carefully examine any slightly beautiful woman, but he was rough and unfriendly to women he didn't like and elderly men. As for the hospital Kevin left, when they found out he was transferred, the patients and nurses were delighted. I was surprised at how much he was disliked. He himself never thought his existence was seen that way, so he was spouting nonsense like, how long do you expect me to stay at some remote clinic? I'm not a man to be buried in a place like this. Of course, what he was complaining about wasn't his position or raison d'etre, but the drastic decrease in his salary from being sent to the boonies. His argument was that he couldn't raise 5 kids with this. However, the kids seemed to be happily playing every day in the nature-rich area like fish in water. I occasionally get messages from Emily, and it seems even though she used to love glamorous things, she likes it there and is laughing about how it was good that Kevin got demoted. Both Emily and the kids seem to have become happy, but only Kevin isn't doing well. It seems in order to somehow manage his difficult life, he's working part-time at a hospital far away in addition to the clinic. But even with the part-time job, his difficult life hasn't changed. He's barely getting by while paying off debt, and while his family is getting fatter from their healthy lifestyle, he's wasting away. It seems he's gotten sick. The other day, I heard from Emily that he's completely lost his confidence. He's someone with only high pride and mental weakness. It's understandable that this would happen to him, but all I can say is that he got what he deserved. As for me, my kids are growing up healthy. I'm living happily while watching my beautiful children spread their wings.